here we go with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is really a mix of stories from my childhood, things that I remember. They are not synchronized. The story that I call the soldier story, that starts with, if I remember right, I think I was in between 5th and 8th grade. The story actually starts with me as a teenager. From this point on is going to go more into a teenage state, and this is more before that, and it's just the mix of things that I just really like, things that I remember, things that made an impression on me, whether it was positive or negative, things that taught me something, and a lot of things that are not necessarily positive that happen into our life still teach us valuable lessons, hopefully. So, yes, we did a lot of, and we were called pioneers, and you had to wear that, red scarf around, and that was the symbol of being a communistic party and stuff like that. And there was a lot of this mandatory voluntarism going on that it started, between the 5th and 8th grade, and I believe it started earlier than that. I just don't have a recollection of any memory before that, but we would do stuff like clean up the city, or harvest things like corn, and I remember we spent days and days taking the harvest corn from the fields and then stacking it in these huge storage bins for winter time. We would also go and pick up dandelion leaves. It was for a natural health kind of remedy thing, so we'd do stuff like that, or pick up wild strawberries, or anything that really the government decided that needed. Then, it went to the schools, and then the kids were brought out, and we would go through these fields where really we worked our butts off. That's what it was, and it was almost like prison camp, because you had the teacher constantly supervising you, and it's hot outside, and I really didn't have lunch, and there's, I'm thirsty, and it's hot, and I'm tired, and I'm a kid, and we've been working for hours, as the hot is hitting on us, the sun is hitting on us, and I just don't want to do it, but you have to do it, because the teachers were almost like the prisoner guards, up yelling and all that, and making sure that we did whatever we were supposed to do. Of course, we joked too. We used every opportunity as a child. You use every opportunity to joke and kid around and stuff like that. So there was that part as well. So, oh yeah, the parades. Oh man, we really had to do a lot of parades in military uniform, and there was a lot of this, synchronized, parades with synchronized music and props, and we had to learn it, and there was a lot of hours that we spent I remember in the fields, practicing this stuff, because it was some presentation for some communistic party, some important, dude, that would come, and we had to just really show just how patriotic we really were and all that stuff. Little did I care about any of that sort of thing, but things were taken seriously. It's not like I think in America where, at least that's what I see, where it's more like, the importance is just to have fun. There was no such thing as idea of fun in Romania the way we grew up. It was, you have to do what you're supposed to do. And we tried to sneak fun in. That was kind of how it was, but we were constantly watched, and we were constantly supervised, and it felt like either military or a boot camp, or a military camp, or a prison camp. That's the memory that I have, where you try to sneak in jokes and have fun, but it was in a sneaky type of way, because there was always somebody watching and you could get in trouble. So let's see, moving on. So of course, I try to bring in memories that I found important. And I remember caroling time in Romania. It's a major event. It's a 3-night event for the Christian church. Atheists, they didn't want to have anything to do with that. So of course we still did that. We took a chance and a risk every year, but it was fun and we did it. And it was all night long. We went caroling, and I remember when we were young and we're not part of the church, and it was just me and my brothers, and we would go caroling, and you go from door to door and you receive either money or food dishes, and we just had so much fun, and we're just goofing and laughing, and of course Sergio was the center of all attention, and he was the goofer #1. And Aline and I, we just really enjoyed the stuff he would come up and feed off of each other and come up with stories. Easter tradition in Romania, you'd get a bottle of perfume, and because we cannot afford that, we found, I think my little brother stole perfume, cheap stuff, and then we would water it down. We would just put a couple of drops of perfume and water it down in different bottles, and we would go and you actually sprinkle this perfume at people's doors as they open the door, and you actually sprinkle this on them, and you say it's a song that it's specific for the Easter, and in return you get money or you get colored eggs. And man, we were full of eggs during Easter, and we were happy about that, but it got to the point where there were too many eggs. The orphanage, I don't really like to go too much into that right now, because it's always been and always will remain a very sad memory into my heart. And I have other orphanage experiences, and they're not good experiences. They're very sad experiences. They're very tragic experiences, and I really don't want to go too much into that, because then I'll start crying, and what's the use? Let's move on. Lowly, 8th grade, the kid that, so that was in 8th grade, Lowly, when I slapped him. This kid moved into our grade and into our class in the 8th grade, and up to that point, the boys in our grade, in our class, were extremely innocent until Lowly came around and really started to bring this pornography kind of environment. And you're doing that to 8th grade kids that are, starting to just, be extremely hormonal and stuff like that. So things started happening from that point of view, where the boys would try certain things, and that was Lowly trying certain things and getting it back. Yeah. Try again. Moving on. So we were always assigned a 2nd and a 3rd language from, I believe we started in the 2nd or the 3rd grade with Latin. So we started with Latin, that was the basic foreign language, and then 2 more were added later on. I think we stopped, we took Latin for a year or 2, or I can't remember quite, and then we were taking the 2nd language and the 3rd language, and it was a total of 3 extra languages that we took in addition to just the Romanian, and we could not choose, and Russian was mandatory. There you go. So the funny thing is, I never got Russian even though it was mandatory, and I don't know how that happened. I got French and German. I loved German, I hated French. I think it had something to do with the teachers and the style of teaching, but there you go. The wooden rule, hit in the head, that was actually in 3rd grade and 4th grade, and then in 5th grade we changed teachers, and the teacher from the 5th to 8th grade, the mother teacher, it was actually 100% a wonderful teacher and rooted for me, and it was great. I will stop here because my iPhone only does 10 minutes at a time. I will come back with part 2.